Hey there, welcome back to the Good Knowledge, Evil Ignorance podcast, episode 6. Boy, I need to get better at doing this. Maybe I should make it like a daily routine, because I'm already forgetting about what I've said in the past 5 episodes, and it's only been 5 episodes. So I know I'm going to be repeating myself, and I thought, hey, maybe I should go through the other episodes and like catalog the things I said and the anecdotes and the analogies and metaphors I made so I don't just keep using the same ones, but I'm far too lazy for that sort of thing. So, I'm going to do that from now on, and maybe I'll do it retroactively for the past 5 episodes. But until then, I'm just going to hope I don't repeat myself too much by trying to talk about a different thing. But because the core theme of the podcast is searching for these truths, well, I imagine the same topics are going to come up over and over again. For instance, in this one, I was talking to my fiancée last night. I know, right? Oh, congratulations, me. Talking to my fiancée last night, and we were talking. I wanted to tell her a story, and so I told her a story about when I was in the Boy Scouts. And there was this kid that went running away from the adults, like in 10 o'clock at night one night at Boy Scout summer camp. You know, the adult ran after him, and me being the senior patrol leader, the most high-ranking Boy Scout in the troop, I said, "Wait, no, I'll deal with it. I'll go talk to him." And immediately, the Scoutmaster backed down. Like, he didn't say, "No, Kyle, I know what's going on. Stay out of it," or "It's my problem," or whatever. He just said, "Okay, you got it. You're the SPL." I went, "Oh, wow, cool." But I really did have no idea what was going on, so I chased the kid down and in a nice way, and he was in the middle of this like really pitch black, dark path in 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, "Hey, is that you, bud?" And he goes, he's crying, and I'm like, "All right, well, and I sit down kind of next to him, across the path from him, a few feet away. We can't see each other, only our silhouettes. And I'm sitting across from him, and we start to talking, and I start calming him down. "Hey, it's all right, man. Just sit down here, relax, Just make sure everything's okay." And there was a lot of silence until I could tell he was starting to calm down, and said, "So, what's got you so upset there, bud?" And this kid was autistic or something, right? Like he had some developmental issues. So, he some antisocial stuff. I'm not sure. I don't want to say too much because I'm not, a doctor. But yeah, he definitely had some things going on. And so, we were talking, and he calmed down a little bit. I asked him what got him so upset, and he said that he kicked the Scoutmaster. I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, well, I can see why he was a little upset. Why does that make you upset?" And he was like, "Well, because I hurt him." And I went, "Yeah, maybe, you couldn't have hurt him too bad, but yeah, maybe you hurt his feelings because you kicked him." And, he just, the kid just kicked him because they got into an argument and acted like a child because, he's like 11 or 12 and ran off. And so we were talking a little bit. I said, "All right, well, how about we go back to the Scoutmasters and how about you apologize, and maybe they'll apologize and everything will be okay, okay?" And he finally got up, and he had his head down, and he was walking away. And we walked up to the Scoutmasters, and they said hi to him. The adults said hi to him, and he said hi to them. And my dad was one of them, and then there was 2 other Scoutmasters, and my dad was like, "You okay, bud?" or something like that, And he's like, "Yeah, I just wanted to apologize and say I'm sorry." And the leaders were like, "All right, it's okay. Apology accepted. We're sorry if we got a little out of control, but you understand that's really inappropriate." And they put him in his place, but they also weren't mean to him. So we just had this really great moment, all of us. The Scoutmasters allowed me to go and deal with it because it was my job, which is incredible considering some adults and some parents do not think kids can handle that sort of thing. And I was a kid. I was 15 maybe? 16? No, I was 15 max. And, and I told her this story, and it got me to thinking. I told the fiancé this story, and it got me to thinking about how great Boy Scouts were for me and my friends, and how everybody that I know, for the most part, that is doing really well was in the Boy Scouts, except for 2 people. The best friend, Sam, that was on here the other day, my brother, a couple other friends I know, and myself included, we're all doing really well. We're all really well socialized and really well behaved and really productive members of society. And it's because we all shared these moments of child rearing together in the Boy Scouts. And I also was thinking yesterday, and it's been a topic of thought of mine for years now probably, is, gosh, we're all so messed up. When it comes to how we treat each other, we are so sure of everything. Back to one of the themes of this is that we should think we know nothing, because we do know nothing. but everybody seems so sure about how they are and how they perceive the world, and it comes from partly how we were all raised. And that makes sense when you think about it. You have parents who are flawed individuals rearing these kids. They don't know what they're doing. They're making mistakes. And then they shove them into public school, which is like, Pink Floyd style, conveyor belt of just turning out, same thinking kid after same thinking kid after same thinking kid. And there's no challenge. We're all taught by gym coaches. I mean, gosh, I had history class, and thank God, like, he actually kind of liked history, the teacher, but he was a gym coach. And the whole deal at the school was, well, if you teach gym, we got to save money, so you also have to be a teacher in one of the other, non-important classes or something. And so he was a history coach, and history was so boring in that class. It was so boring. And I've seen math get taught by gym teachers. I've seen English. Especially English is a big one because they just read the book. And you just get churned out with this like really crappy education, and you get stuck in buildings with kids who either hate you or love you, or you're in relationships with, or you're not being really properly socialized. I mean, I guess this is the thing, right? You are, though, because you're not supposed to have adults just watching over you. You should be shoved in areas where you have to figure things out, like the Boy Scouts, where there was some structure, and you would check each other because there were just guys. Like, this is the problem also, right? Like, co-ed mingling, I don't want to say it's a problem, but it opens the door to some problems, especially nowadays with, the hookup culture. I mean, kids have Tinder when they're 16 and 15. And I hear so many times from coworkers and friends and family, like, well, they're going to do it anyways, Kyle. You don't want to, you might as well just teach them about everything and let them know because they're going to do it anyways. And I think, are they? I don't know. I made it, well, I don't want to say how far or how short I made it in my life before I had any of those experiences, but I like to think I went pretty far without ever knowing about it and ever wanting to partake in it, other than like what my ignorant little innocent kid brain knew about it. Like, obviously, boys start becoming attracted in their later mid-teenage years, and there's nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, you shouldn't just say, well, they're gonna do it anyways, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. We can't give them lessons on why they shouldn't do it because that's religious. That's religious dogma or whatever. And it's not. It's actually just like common sense socialization of an individual. But because that same common sense socialization is pushed by religious individuals who might not have the best way of articulating themselves, it comes off as religious dogma, and therefore we just go, well, no, we should just teach them how to have sex in sex ed class. I'm off on a tangent big time, but you'll see where I'm going here. We're socialized in such possibly wrong ways, and we're reared by individuals who are flawed. We're either actually traumatized by abuse, or we have minor negative trauma in our brain that we fail to overcome all the time. Like, let's just say, I mean, the classic case, right, is dad leaves and you have abandonment issues, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about here. Like, you have all these things that work in your head based off stuff that happened when you were a kid that you don't even probably remember. Like, I know I got some of those, and I think I can think of one of them because it's a positive example. Like, for some reason, like, I guess my mom left me at daycare one time. Mom, I'm sorry for telling the story, but it's not like it doesn't make you look like a bad person, so don't worry. It's okay. But yeah, I guess mom left me at daycare one time and I like freaked out or whatever. And so after that, I always had this like fear of being left. Like, I remember this one time very clearly in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I was bicycling with mom and brother, and I got way too far ahead, like way too far, because I was like, I'm going to go by myself and be independent. And I got way too far ahead. I turned left, turned right, and then I stopped. I was like, well, I guess I should wait for them to come back. And they it was like 15, I swear, it was like 15 minutes. They were going slow, and I started to freak out, and I was like, uh-oh, am I lost? Where am I going? Because I didn't know where I was, and I started freaking out, and I remember this moment very clearly, because it's one of those, like, scarring moments, and that's why, to this day, I am so fiercely able to, and I don't want to say fiercely independent, because that is such a cliche, but it's true, I am. I've tried to be able to be completely happy with being detached, and I am, and I've succeeded at that. So I've gotten over a past trauma, so to speak, but those are, who knows how many others I got in there, and who knows how many my fiance has, who knows how many my coworkers have, or my bosses, or the people I talk to at work. We are all filled with these separate exchanges in our lives that have tainted the way we see and act around the world, and we all treat each other as if we should know the right way to be, even though we don't know the right way to be. And that's why maybe we get so angry and resentful towards each other. Because anger is expectation meeting reality, right? We all have these high expectations of our fellow man, and then they go out and make a mistake, and we go, "Oh, you dumb wad." And, I'm thinking of instances, like at work, old jobs, where a coworker would make a mistake, and the other coworker would think it wasn't a mistake, but it was a malicious attempt to irritate the other coworker or to take advantage of the other coworker or something. And you as a third party, right? We're just sitting there going, "Are you kidding me? They just made a mistake. It was like simple miscalculation, and they were not paying attention. And you're going to make this into like some kind of drama thing that they're trying to screw you? No, man." And then they act that way, and then the other person is going to go, "Well, geez, do you just want..." I don't even know. I don't want to get too far out in the weeds here. But I'm probably rambling too much a little bit. But the core behind what I'm trying to say is that we are all just so chock full of ways of being that we are not necessarily aware of. A great guy... I don't know. Should I quote the source when I quote these things, or should I not? I really don't know. But I guess in this situation, I really should, because it's a direct quote, and I think everybody should go look out this guy and watch some of his lectures and talks and read his books and stuff, because he really is great. Jonathan Haidt. Awesome. Super cool dude. Love his books. He makes an analogy of how we are as human beings. We are riders on top of an elephant. And what he means by that is that you have, like your soul and your body. And essentially, like your body and your brain and all the chemical reactions are the elephant. And your mind and your soul are the rider. And you have people who do not have any control over their elephant. So their elephant just throws them out into the world, and they go on drinking binges, and they sleep with people they shouldn't sleep with, and they do all these terrible things because they have no control over the animal part of them that just drives them to act. They have no free will, essentially, because they can't think. They don't know what to do. They have no control over and they think that whatever they feel is right, so they just do it because, this is how I feel, so it must be right. I must go out and drink until I'm blind because I want to. So they go and do it. And then you have people who have tyrannized their elephant. Their elephant can't do anything, and the soul... the rider is doesn't really know how to move the elephant around because there's nowhere to go, because he's taken so much control and he's used so much willpower to hide his desires and his emotions from himself. And there's the happy medium, and there's the whole scale in between of how people have learned to domesticate their elephant. And the best place you want to get to is where your elephant is still moving you forward, but you're also controlling it at the same time, and you're able to, nudge him to the right and nudge him to the left. You're not going to let him just go off on a drinking binge. You're not just going to let him let you play video games all day. You're going to let yourself play video games to the set. You're going to let the elephant drink and stomp on a mice if it wants to, but you're not going to let it sit there all day and just shove its face in the water. It's like, all right, I know you don't need to drink anymore. Let's go, buddy. All right, let's go. And that's what we all are just riders on elephants, and all of our elephants just keep bumping into each other because we haven't trained them. We haven't been socialized very well. Here's where I was going with it. That's right. Here's the problem, right? No one seems to believe in the right ways to be. It's always, it just depends on the person. It just depends on who you are. Anything can work for anybody. It doesn't matter. There's no rules. There's no truths about how to act and how to be in society, or at least it doesn't seem that way. And if they are given out, they're given out in totalitarian manner, saying you have to do this or else something will happen. And then the people who rebel against that, because of course you would rebel against that. If anybody is telling you that you have to do this or else, and they don't give you a good reason, well, you're going to go, the logical part of you is going to go, no, Like, give me a reason. I don't understand. And there's no help out there, it seems, for my generation, for the next generation, probably for the past 2 generations, because everybody just says, oh, it doesn't matter, man. Just do whatever makes you feel right. It all depends on the person. You want to be a polyamorous person who has 8 wives, but they're only allowed to sleep with you? That's fine, man. If that works for you, that's good. It's all good, man. Free love. And it's like, well, okay, maybe there are some societies where that works. But can that work? Does that actually work? Or is that just the man getting his cake, having his cake and eating it too, and all the women having to just bow down because that's just how their culture is? What if the best possible way of mingling and coupling is long-term monogamous relationships? What if that was really, on average, the best way to be? But no one says that. It's like, yeah, if you want to get married, then that's for you, but I don't want to get married. It's not for me. It's like, how do you know that? Why do you think that getting married is not for you? Because you don't want to stick with one person the rest of your life? Because you don't want to be held down? I've talked to friends who've said things like, well, I just want to do my own thing. It's like, what? To what end? To what end do you want to just do your own thing? Like, to what? For what purpose? What's going to happen at the end of your life? What do you mean, do for you? What is you? Who is you? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what's great for me, but what I do know is that there are things that have been done up until now. The 110 billion people that came before us, they found out some truths. They found out some wisdom, and I'm trying to listen to all of that. Because, and if my fiance listens to this, she'll understand, because we've had this conversation before. If I gave in to my animal desires, I'd never get married. I don't know what I'd do. I'd listen to the animal chimpanzee in me who just wants to spread the gene pool as much as possible, and I'd never get tied down. But that's not right. And it's actually not something that my soul wants. See, the elephant might want that, but the writer, me, Kyle, the soul, I want to find that connection, and I want to combine our beings together until we're one, luminous creature instead of just 2 flawed, hopeless people. I know that's the best way because I've seen it in reality, and I've seen the evidence from past wisdom and, modern day science and statistics. I know there are truths of how we should be and how we should act. And this goes back to the last episode, like rules schmools. Like, should everybody steal everything from everybody? No, that's probably not a good way to do it. And that's a rule that we can all live by. But there are other rules that we're not getting taught. And that's why we're all bumbling through life, because no one is like taught us how to drive the elephant. No one says, you don't go through an elephant training lesson, it seems like, when you're going to this industrialized public school system that just churns out everybody who looks the same. Oh, you are either going to do this or you're going to go to college. Done? Good. Go to college. Everybody needs to go to college. You just got to go. Everybody got to go to college. Everybody. So we're going to set you up to pass tests and take tests that, well, basically you're screwed when you go to college if you're not actually orientated towards doing so. No one teaches us how to ride our elephants, it seems. And we have to keep figuring it out by ourselves. And, of course, we're going to make bad choices. We're going to make wrong choices. And it's unfortunate. And this is why we all get so mad at each other. You hear this a lot. Diversity is strength. It's like, well, no. It's really not. Diversity of skin color, whatever. I mean, if you got black, yellow, brown, gray skin, that's not diversity. Having that as much, that's just diversity of a color. And the world has been around for a while, and if you keep commingling, then you can happily say that 1,000 years from now, we're all just going to be a lovely shade of mocha. Right? So who cares about skin color? But when they say diversity is strength, it's actually not true. Like, if you and your, I'm obviously using, I obviously have marriage on the brain because I just got engaged. So I'm using marriage as an example. But it's a good example. Diversity does not work in a marriage. If you two both have a diversity of opinions that never line up, you're never going to do anything. You're never going to agree. You're never going to like to hang out. You're never going to watch a movie. You're never going to find a song you like. You're never going to do anything together because you have all these diversity of opinions that, everything's true. and I'm right and you're right and no one's wrong. It's like, no. Diversity does not work when it comes to, let's say, the right way to build a building. It's like, oh, well, there are different ways to build a building, but you all have to like, fall into the rules of gravity. You have to build around certain laws of nature and physics that exists. So yeah, the houses can all look a little different, but they all have to have a structure. They all have to have support beams. They all have to have this and that. And if you try to diversify that too much, it's not going to work. And this is what happens in society. We're all so different that we don't know who we are. That's why we all have to like give each other names like liberal or conservative or vegan or environmentalist. We all have to name each other so that we can try to guess what you're going to do. We have to try to anticipate you, because if you're just this amorphous blob of everything, I have no idea how to talk to you or how to act, especially if our words are different. We don't know how to act. We need a hierarchy of beliefs and desires and needs to act within. And if everybody is just different because anything could work for everybody, it just depends on the person, then we're never going to be able to mesh with each other. And no, I'm not saying that we should have this top-down tyrannical order of rules. This should all be voluntary. This should all be us getting together and going, what the hell is the best way to live? Let's figure it out so that we don't have a government try to force it down our throats in 10 years. We don't need that. We're not sheeple. We don't have to be. A lot of us are because we don't know any better. But I really don't think we have to be. We all go through public school like, this frustrates me, okay? I was listening to a conversation happen in work between coworkers, and they were talking about this whole Trump thing going to prison. And they were all so sure of the reality of themselves. And I was thinking, guys, imagine if I was saying the opposite in such a sure idea. You would look at me and say, oh, Kyle, you just watched this and that, and you don't actually, you're biased and stuff. It's like, well, how are you not biased? You're getting all this information from the news. And I think it's been pretty clear. By the way, both sides of the aisle. This is a very libertarian. This is a very modern and I think down the middle way to think. Everybody can agree with this. The media is not a very good way to get your news on both sides of the aisle. Like Fox News is just as bad as CNN News, right? CNN News. I know that's probably redundant. Central News Network News. I don't know. But these people, my coworkers are so sure of themselves. And then, of course, they're going to bump into people like me, and they're going to go, oh, well, why can't you just be this? And I'm going to think, well, why can't you just be this? And we all have these diversity of opinions, which is actually great. We should have that. However, there should also be an idea that there is such thing as truth. And there is the right way to be, or at least a selection of correct ways to be. I was listening to another podcast of a very, very, very influential person. And he was talking about, you got to think about it like this. Yes, there are an infinite amount of ways of interpreting reality and moving forward in reality. There are. But let's put some parameters on there. You can't hurt other people. You can't hurt yourself. You have to act in such ways that benefit yourself, your future self, your community, your state, your country, your family, your friends. You have to act in certain ways that does not affect any of these other factors, and then that kind of actually narrows down your possibilities of interpretations of reality. If you start putting these things around you, you start to see that there are clear paths forward on how to act, and you can't just say, well, it doesn't matter, it just depends on the person. No, I don't believe that. Listen, are there couples who are swingers, right? Like swingers. Are there swingers that make it work? You know what? I don't think so. I think there are the unicorns, right? Like the 1 out of a billion couples that actually this works for them. But I think for the most, and there's a little bit of data behind this. I don't remember where I read it, but I remember reading it. There's a lot of trauma going into polyamorous relationships, open relationships, swinging relationships. And I've actually had a friend go down this route, and it disintegrated his relationship almost within a year. they went from being a really awesome couple, and then he ended up going through a hard time, and I think the girl either wanted out or wanted to try to make him better and said, hey, why don't we do this to spice things up? And they tried it, and he said it was great, and she said it was great, and within a year they were divorced and moving on to different people. And it makes sense. Why would you... I don't know. I don't want to go too far down this path because it's kind of out of my zone. Yeah, are there people this can work for? Maybe. But what percentage? Less than 1, obviously. So you can't say that it's a normal route for regular people. You just can't say that. You can't say, well, it works for some people. It's like, yeah, it works for like 5 people. Just because it works for those 5 people, it doesn't mean you should try to make it work for you. Maybe you need to look at your elephant and say, nah, that's not going to work for us. Bad idea. It fails for everybody else who tries that except for those 5 unicorns over there. So let's kind of go along the more, dare I say, traditional route here. Let's do the thing that actually works. Let's get married, stay together, have kids, continue the species, and educate them properly and socialize them properly so that they can do the same thing better and so that our society can keep getting better and so it doesn't stagnate because we have a bunch of sheeple who just let their elephants roam around society and never do anything. I don't really know where I'm going. I think it's just that. It started off with the Boy Scouts, right, and how they helped us socialize, me and my friends and my family. And we're all successful because of it. And we're all mostly healthy people. And it just seems like there are so many people who have basically been set up on this like terrible course and then boom, set up on autopilot forever based on the initial coordinates. No one has gone in and changed the coordinates afterwards. They're just still headed in the direction that they were told they were supposed to be headed towards when they were 15 or 20 or 25, and they're just going on cruise control. And then they bump into each other, and we all get mad and resentful towards each other. And there's so much hate and resentfulness and sadness out there, and so much hopelessness. I see it. I see it when people talk about other people. They go, yeah, people are mostly good, but they're also mostly stupid, and they're just a bunch of sheeple, and nothing's ever gonna people are never gonna wake up, and it's never gonna get better, and it's just gonna slowly get better. Technology's gonna get great, but people are gonna get more lazy and more dumb and more apathetic. It's like, no. It doesn't have to be that way. And I am trying to change that within myself. I am trying to accept that I know nothing and that there are ways that have been, there are rules that have been discovered by the billions of people who have come before us, and I maybe should listen to them rather than trying to make up my own rules. Don't try to recreate the wheel, right? The wheel's been made forever. It is obviously the best way to get around, right? Except until we come up with like instant teleportation. But as far as moving loads across flat ground, the wheel's pretty great. You don't need to come up with something new. You can make the wheel better, right? You can make like tires and wheels and wheels that go in the tires, and you can make like airless rubber tires so they never go flat, right? You can always improve on the kind of wheel, but essentially the wheel is the way to go. So I think I'll just close on that. Thank you for listening. I have no idea where I'm going with this one. It's a little less structured, but I promise the next ones will be more purposeful. And I don't think I repeated myself too much on this one, if I can remember correctly. I will be creating... Now I'm back to one job. I only have one job now, thank goodness. I'll have more time for this podcast. So I will be starting to create multi-episode at length, probably not scripted, but definitely with notes about certain topics where I actually go in and find statistics and data and facts and try to discover the truths in life. So I'm looking forward to those. I hope you are too. Give me ideas. Go on to my Twitter, at GKEI2023, Good Knowledge, Evil Ignorance Podcast. Thanks for listening. I'm going to go and cook the gal and I some dinner before she gets back from yoga. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.